Do you want to talk about the elephant in the room?
Oh, sure.
What was that?
Oh,
What
man.
happened?
Oh, I've
Hey,
got
what
oh,
happened? You know,
oh,
so let's get to the inevitable elephant in the room. The Seahawks lost on the road, and it pretty much should have been on the road at home in Seattle to a, we talked about this, a very good, an underratedly very good Green Bay team who, to give the defense a lot of credit where credit is due, they did stop Josh Jacobs for a majority of the time, except for like the first half. So
yeah.
up
The
when
first
this,
half, Jesus.
oh jeez, the second half they did make some adjustments and the defense played pretty well for the second half or
Yeah,
majority of the time. Here's where I have some gripe. For as innovative of an offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb is,
hmm
you're not going to call a great game when your offensive line can't block a pee-wee football team.
yeah,
So, as much as, the next question is like, the obvious of who do you blame? I think you and I can both agree with this discussion here. If the Seattle Seahawks had remotely top 15 or top 10 offensive line,
yeah.
they're running with the Packers. They're probably not going to beat them, but they're at least competitive to the point where it's, oh God, it's one of those things where you go and say, the fuck. It's,
Yeah, yeah.
they should have, this game should have been closer. But the fact they can't run the ball, even with Charbonnet having, a touchdown,
Yeah, he
Gino
did have
couldn't do
that late touchdown there.
Gino couldn't do squat.
No,
DK
no,
was ineffective. JSN was ineffective. Lockett was okay. The tight ends couldn't get open.
no.
And it's
I have my black notebook next to me, and these are the raw notes that I took during some of the game. And I'm not going to read them all. But this thing, if you're a no credentials required notebook listener, you know that I break out this notebook from time to time. This is what I watch all the games with right here, and I
yep.
write all these things in. And I just say the first drive by the Packers was all Josh Jacobs. 2 passes, 3 runs, 4 runs. I couldn't keep track of the counter. 10-play drive, 9 involved Jacobs. They were passing to
Yep.
Jacobs. They were running with him. And the Packers O-line is dominating the line of scrimmage early.
Yep.
That's what I have. Big holes for Jacobs. I said Romeo Dobbs, there was that point where he drove 3 Seahawk defenders right into the end zone.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
What the fuck?
It was ridiculous. And Geno sacked twice on third down on their first 2 drives. They were driving the ball, they were getting things moving a little bit, and then the Packers would get a sack. And what made it worse is Jordan Love, who I kept waiting to throw a boneheaded interception because that's what he's done, although he's cooled it off in the last few games. He started the game 8 for 8.
Yeah,
Geno,
he was on point.
he was. And to make it even crazier, Geno started the game 9 for 9. So I was like,
Yeah.
all right, maybe we can roll with him.
Shootout.
Yeah, I'm going, maybe we can roll with them. But the problem is, one, Green Bay scored on every possession of the first half. We did not get a 3-and-out singularly in the first half. And Mike McDonald, to your credit and to his, you said that one of the strong points of Mike McDonald is his ability to adjust in game, which is something Pete Carroll almost never did, frustratingly, to both you and I.
Never did. He never did it. It's an understatement there, Dustin. It's an understatement and a half.
But Geno, this is the thing now, and I'm going to come back to praise Geno later in the show because I've been hard on Geno Smith at points during his Seahawk tenures. But even the most ardent Geno supporters even the most ardent Geno supporters have to admit he throws too many red zone interceptions. He leads the league in red zone picks, and he threw a bad one here. Now, as
Yeah.
you've detailed, our offensive line, for the last few seasons has been horrible in Seattle. And I think
I don't think, well, to cut you off,
yeah, go ahead.
last season wasn't really that bad
Yeah, it wasn't.
because Evan Brown was okay. The guard play, for the most part, Anthony Bradford's rookie season was really good. And then this season, it's just like, what happened, bud?
Yeah.
And then who else? Damian Lewis. I don't know how the hell he got that much money in Carolina, but more power to you. And this was a team that had Abe Lucas played for one game
Yeah.
last season.
Yeah.
One. And
Yeah,
then
that
tore
was
his
tough.
knee out for the season, and they're just getting him back, and he's played pretty well.
Yeah, he has stabilized the offensive line, but
Yeah.
I just meant to a degree. And Charles Cross has missed chunks of time as well. I think most of that was last season.
Yeah.
I will agree with you. They had a patchwork offensive line, and they did their best to make it work. But the large point that I was getting at is that a lot of people, including myself, threw Pete Carroll never prioritizes the offensive line. He never prioritizes that. They're bringing in like older players
Jason
to try to
Peters at
patchwork
45.
it together. Everybody threw that at Pete Carroll, but at what point are we going to start saying that John Schneider, that he may do the same thing? The Seahawks need to prioritize the offensive line moving forward and figure out, because Abe Lucas, Charles Cross, they've done well. It looks like they've got some stabilizing play at center.
Olu's been good.
Yeah,
Olu's been good.
He's been good, and the center that had to come in to Jalen Sundell, he was okay in this game. He was throwing blocks. He was doing things, but I mean, Geno throwing that red zone pick really killed us, and he's got to rein in the red zone picks. But I will say, as much as I rag on Geno sometimes for his red zone picks, you don't know what you got till it's gone. Because
Correct.
When Sam Howell came in, the offense looked lifeless.
Oh my God!
Lifeless.
Seahawks Twitter was losing their minds because the Sam Howell supporters were like, "Yes, we finally got to see what Sam Howell's like, and happiness is gone." Because that's literally what it was like, and there's a reason why Sam Howell, to his credit, threw a crap ton of passes or a crap ton of yards and a crap ton of touchdowns, but also led the league in interceptions last season for Washington.
He threw a ton. And
give him credit, though.
Yeah. I mean, they said that he was never going to stop slinging. The problem is he had the same amount of touchdowns as he had picks.
Yeah.
But I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, all I could think of is, remember how Pete always used to say, "Oh, always compete. Every position is open."
Oh my God.
He would say that whole thing. He would never declare the starting quarterback. Even at Russell Wilson's peak, he would always say every position is open. Mike McDonald came in and he put a stop to that in the preseason. He said Geno's the guy, and then an offensive source, I can't remember if it was Ryan Grubb or if it was somebody else on the offensive staff. A source came out and said the gap between Geno and Sam Howell with running the offense is quote unquote significant. And all I could remember is that quote from the preseason, because you saw it come to life here with Sam Howell. Maybe he develops into something in the future. He's still young. I like the fact that we traded for him and we have a young backup and we can see what he can do. But I mean, man, it was bad. Once I was dejected. I mean, you and I were texting back and forth in the game a little bit. I was just dejected, and I hated the team seeing the team play like this on a national stage, even though the defense did play much better in the second half. I have Seahawks finally get a 3-and-out in the third quarter. But they have been able to move the ball some. And then
Mhm.
Sam Howell comes in.
Oh, and the good news is Gino Smith and Kenneth Walker are good to go
Yes.
for in Minnesota. So that's good news. That's good news,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen. That is good news.